Today's topic is CompletableFuture. CompletableFuture is a class which we use for multi-threading. It's a modern way to create multiple threads and to run asynchronous tasks. But didn't we already have an interface for that? We do have this interface ExecutorService, which also does the exact same job. We can perform multi-threading using this. So how does it work? I can just simply create an object of ExecutorService like this. We have this helper class named executors, and it has this method new fixed thread pool. Okay, so using this method, we can just create a thread pool, and here we pass on the number of threads which we want to use. Alright, so this is how we used to create an object of ExecutorService. Now using this object, we can run multiple tasks together. So that we do like this. I can just call a method named submit, and it will start executing the task. Okay, so inside the submit, here I can provide the task which I want to do. Like here I just simply want to print this and I want to return some value. Okay, so if we want to return a value from some thread, that also we can do. Okay, so similarly I defined 3 different tasks. Basically I'm executing 3 different tasks and all of them are running parallelly. Now these results are returned in an object called future. Okay, so future is another interface. Whatever result we want to return from our thread, that is saved inside this future object. Okay, its purpose is this. Alright, now using this future, I can retrieve the value. So here we are retrieving the result and here I am just printing them. Okay, so this is how ExecutorService used to work. Alright, let me just run this code. Great, so you can see that all the 3 tasks executed simultaneously and eventually their values got returned. Okay, now since we already have ExecutorService, then what is the need for CompletableFuture? So the answer is that actually future has some limitations of its own. I mean, yes, it can, it can retrieve the result and we can fetch that result over here and then we can print it. And it also allows us to wait for these tasks to be completed. But still there are some limitations. And that is why CompletableFuture was introduced. So in this video, this is what I'm going to do. I'll tell you each limitation of future and we'll see the corresponding solution from CompletableFuture. Okay, that's how we are going to proceed. The first limitation is that future does not have a callback function. Let's see this example. Here we have defined an ExecutorService using which we are performing this task where we are fetching the name and we are just returning the name from here. Okay, so it is saved inside this future object. Here I am retrieving the value and here using this value I am printing this statement that's sending welcome email to this particular name which we got in the result. Okay, so here you can observe that we are doing 3 processes separately. Here we are performing the first task, then here is the retrieval process, and here we are doing something from that value which we retrieved. Alright, so what CompletableFuture says is that all these 3 tasks can be actually clubbed together in a single pipeline. Okay, that can be done with a callback function. Like here we don't have any function that simply says that whenever this task is completed, it will automatically trigger that method and we can do whatever we want with the result which will be, which we will get from this thread. Okay, that kind of method is missing in this future. Okay, so let me show you how we can do the same with CompletableFuture, or let's first see how it executes actually, what will be the output. So the output will be fetching the name. Okay, first we are fetching the name, then here we got the name which is Shivam. So we are saying sending welcome email to Shivam. Okay, this is the output. Now let's do the same with CompletableFuture. So I just write CompletableFuture and we have a static method called supply async. Okay, so this supply async is totally similar to this submit method. Here we just give the task which we want to do. So I'll write this exactly. Okay. All right. So we just want to print fetching the name and then we want to return the name. Okay, but now here I can just call another method from this CompletableFuture. Okay, this supply async actually still returns a CompletableFuture and here I can just chain that method. Okay, so the method is, we have one method called then accept. Okay, so what it will do is that whatever result this will throw, that result it just takes, it just consumes that result and we can do whatever we want to do with that result. Okay, so I can just give it a name. Let me call it name like this. Okay, so this will be the result which is retrieved from here and then I can just, write this print statement. Okay, maybe I'll just copy this part. All right, like this. Okay, no need for this semicolon. Yeah, cool. So this is what we can do from completable future. I just called a supply async. Okay, this as well runs this task in an asynchronous manner. Okay, it's getting performed in a different thread and it is returning this result which this consumes. Here is that result, and that result we can perform another task with that result. Okay, so all this is done in a single pipeline. That's the difference. Alright, let me just run it and we'll see the output again. Okay, fetching the name and sending welcome email to Shivam. Okay, so this was the name which is printed over here. Alright, now one thing I want to clarify about completable future, like in case of an executor service, we define the thread pool and we define how many number of threads we need, but completable future uses a thread pool by default, which is the fork join pool. Okay, so this also you should know that since we have not defined any threads over here, so you should know that where exactly the thread is coming from. Okay, so it's coming from the fork join pool. The second limitation is multiple futures cannot be combined together. Like in this example, I have taken two different futures. In the first one, we are fetching the mutual funds balance and I'm returning this value. And in the second one, I'm fetching the FD balance and this is the value for the FD balance. Okay. Then we are retrieving their values by calling the get method. And in the end, we are just doing a summation of both these values. Okay, to calculate the total balance. Okay, and we are also printing it. All right. So again, as you can see that these things are done in a detached way. We are retrieving, then we are printing, we are doing addition, and then we are printing, and future is called over here. But with completable future, we could just combine these two futures together. We could just combine the completable futures together, and then we can perform addition on their result. And there only I can print that as well in the same pipeline. Okay, so let me show you how I can do that. Now see, one thing I want you to know is that it's not like I cannot do things with executor service. Of course, I can perform the same operation like this as well. Okay, completable future is just a different way of writing the same thing. It's kind of a better design. Okay, that's the only difference. All right, so let me show you how it works. I'll write completable future dot supply async. Okay, so again, I'll define this task inside supply async. Let me just first write it like this and I will copy this much. All right, so this is the first task which we are doing, and similarly we'll do one more task in which I'm just fetching the FD balance and I'm returning this value. All right, cool. So I can extract a variable out of the variable will be of the type completable future. Okay, so let this be future 1. Okay, let me call it future 1 and let this also be extracted into a variable. All right, I can just, okay, I'll write it directly future 1 and this will be future 2. Okay, now as I said that we can just combine these two together. All right, so what's the syntax? I take any of the future, I write future 1, let's say, then I will say dot then combine. Okay, dot then combine. Here I will pass the second future 2. Okay, so we take one of the future, we call this method dot then combine, and then we add the other future which we want to combine with this. Okay, and here after this comma I will add the logic of what we want to do with their combined result. Okay, so like in this case I want to add the result, so I'll write it like this, a comma b. Okay, like a represents the first result and b represents the second one, and we just want to add them, so I'll write a comma b, a plus b. Okay, that's it. So we have combined both these futures, we have taken their results a and b, and we are just adding those results. Okay, now after that I also wanted to print them, so I can use then except. Okay, and here I'll say whatever the final result is, let's call it result, and I can just add a print statement. Okay, I will copy this statement from here. It's the total balance, and this time I don't have to add it because I've already got the result. Okay, plus result. Cool, like this. Okay, I think I'm missing a parenthesis. Yeah, great. so this is the implementation. We can take two different futures, we can combine them, and then we can just perform some operation on their results. And then I can also, do a further task. This is a callback function which I can perform here. Okay, not exactly a callback in this case. In this case, we are just taking this future and we are performing one more task on that. Okay, which is to print this total balance. All right, let me just run this code. Okay, so first we were fetching the mutual funds balance, then the FD balance, and then here the result was combined, it was added, and then the total balance was printed, which is equal to this much. All right. Now the third limitation is futures cannot be chained together. Let's see this example. Here we have defined a future where we are fetching the product price. Okay, we have the static method get product price. Here we fetch the price and we return this value. Okay, now after we fetch this product price, here we call the get method to get that price, and here I have created the second future in which we are applying the discount. Okay, so for apply discount, I have another method that says applying the discount, and it just reduces 200 from the price. All right, now the catch here is that this apply discount method needs the result of this first future. Okay, because it needs the price. So we need this first future result and we want to pass this result into this second future. Okay, that's the thing which is happening over here. All right, then in the end we get the final price and we just print the price. Okay, so let's see how CompletableFuture does the same. I'll just comment this out and I will write CompletableFuture dot supply async. Okay, first we will call the supply async, and here I will straight away call the get product price. Okay, now in case of a completable future, we are allowed to chain the futures together. All right, so we already got the result. Now from here I will call another future. Now that how can I do? I have a method for that called then apply. Okay, and in this method we already got the result. Whatever the result we get from here, we can name it anything. Let's say I just name it price, and I will call this method apply discount and I will pass on the price. Okay, so this kind of thing can be done in CompletableFuture. In a way, we have just chained these futures. Okay, we are doing a chaining. Chaining means that the result of one future can be passed on as an input in the second future. Okay, that is what chaining means. Now I want to show you the difference between then apply and then accept. So then apply takes a function. Okay, and actually then accept, let me show you then accept as well. Okay, it would be, yeah, this is then accept. Then accept takes a consumer. So what's the difference between these two? Actually both of them are functional interfaces, consumer as well as function. What does function do? It takes an input and it also has the capability to return some output. Okay, so when apply discount will be called, in the end we need the final price, right? We need the final output. So that can be done using a function, and basically that can be done using then apply. But what then accept does is that it takes a consumer. So consumer is like that will consume an input. Okay, we can pass on an input in the then accept, but it will not return any value. Okay, so that's why I have not used then accept over here. I have used then apply because we need a value as well. Okay, the final output. Alright, so now whatever the final output is, that actually I will call in the then accept. Alright, it will take this input, which will be the, let me call it a final price. Okay, and I will simply write the print statement. Okay, so this was the print statement. I'll just copy this. Okay, that's it. So it's very simple, we just chain these functional interfaces. First this was called, then apply, then the result of it was passed in the second future, and the second method was called, then the result of it was passed on here in the consumer, in this consumer. Okay, and it is just consuming this value and we are just printing it. Okay, we don't need to return anything else. Okay, let me run it. Great. So first we are fetching the price, then we are applying the discount. Okay, and the price was 1000 and then 1000 was sent on to this method. We reduced 200 from it. That's why the final price is 800. Okay, so this can be done in CompletableFuture. We can perform chaining of futures. The fourth limitation is poor exception handling. In the future, we do have a scope for exception handling, but the problem is that when we throw this exception from like inside this submit, it is not thrown right away. it will only be thrown when we will call the get method. Okay, so let me show you how it works. I am just trying to make a payment over here. Then I have deliberately thrown an exception. Okay, I've written if true, then throw an exception. And if there was no exception, then we would have returned this result. Okay, so this is the example. Now what happens is that this exception, when we throw it from here, it is not thrown straight away. This exception will be thrown when we'll call the get method. Okay, so when it will try to retrieve the result, then only the exception will be thrown, and that I have caught here in the try catch block. Okay, so you have to perform exception handling over here using the try catch when the exception is caught at the time of get. Alright, so you cannot do a proper end-to-end exception handling in the single pipeline. Okay, in this asynchronous pipeline, you cannot achieve that. You can only do when you call the get method. Okay, so that's the case. Let me just call it. Let's see what's the output. Okay, so we were making the payment and then this exception was thrown. So that's why when we called the get actually, so this result we got, which is this exception. Okay, so basically result is not the exception. We got an exception at this line. That's why we went into the catch block and we got this exception and we just printed this message. Okay, so this is the message that is being printed. All right, now let's see how we can do it using CompletableFuture. I'll just comment this out. And first let's perform this task, CompletableFuture dot supply async, and here I will add all the logic. Okay, let's add this logic all together. Okay, let me just uncomment this. Yeah, so we have called supply async. Again, we are first printing, then we are throwing the exception, and then we are trying to return something. Obviously it will not be returned because we have kept the flag as true, but this is how the whole syntax will be. Okay, so here I can perform exception handling in this chain only. What I can do is I can call a method dot exceptionally. All right, so this says this gets called whenever an exception is thrown from over here, and here we will just have the exception directly, and you can do whatever you want to do with that exception. Okay, so let's say I just want to print it, system.out.println e.getMessage. Okay, ex.getMessage. So that I can do. And then after that, I can also return a result. Let's say in this case, I just return that payment is failed. Okay, I can return something like that. Payment failed. Alright, so I don't have to do any further handling with the try catch or anything of that sort. I just simply wrote a method where I have written the scenario that if an exception will be thrown, what are we gonna do? Okay, and I can actually get a result as well in the end because I'm sending a result from both these cases. So I'll take out a variable. Let's call it future, and using this future I will say system.out.println future.get. Okay, we are just retrieving the result. All right, so now if I'll just run this code, great. So again we are making the payment first, then here we got an exception, so the code went to this exceptionally block. Here we are just printing the exception, so this exception was printed, and then we just returned this value. So this value we got over here and we are just printing it. So these were all the limitations, and this was all about CompletableFuture. I hope this video was helpful. For more such content, please follow my channel, The Curious Coder.